Is there a god in this game?
No. Or maybe that's us. Wait.
Back around 2014 to, I'd probably say early 2016, the one game everyone was ecstatic about was No Man's Sky. Quite frankly, the vision and scope of this game was massive, but most of the gameplay and trailers I felt reflected that. The developer behind the game, Hello Games, also did numerous interviews and demos, which truly made it seem like this was the game to change everything. Now, the main individual behind all of this was Sean Murray. Not that Sean Murray, but this one. Murray has a history within the gaming industry, being best known for working as lead programmer for Criterion Games, developer of the Burnout series. Eventually though, in 2008, he founded Hello Games, which for the most part still today is a very small indie studio, only employing about, I believe, a dozen developers. Now with No Man's Sky, the biggest issue was Murray overhyping the game and misleading consumers. I could sit here and explain all the things promised and hyped up before release, but that would take way too long. But the main thing you should know is No Man's Sky is a procedurally generated title, and that was a massive draw for players. As it was originally expected, there would be so much variety and fun things to do, like exploring different worlds, discovering, interacting, and engaging with alien species, collecting resources, huge space battles, and trying to get to the center of the universe. I'll have some of the trailers and gameplay in the background, at least for a bit, but what we were shown was lush, beautiful, and interesting worlds featuring tons of life as well as unique interactions, and hell, at one point a giant sand snake was teased. But at launch, all of this was missing. The game was just meh at best and featured boring gameplay, bugs and crashes, empty worlds, a lot of repetitiveness, a disappointing center of the universe reveal. It's actually nothing, I just point that out. Missing features, and for a $60 game, many felt that was unacceptable. After launch, Hello Games went dark, and to their credit, for the last few years, they've been giving tons of free updates and really improving this game. Although an easy counter to that is the millions of dollars they're rolling in from misleading consumers before release. It's probably the only reason why this is possible and happening. Anyway, while most have given up on this title, No Man's Sky has garnered a decent following, and in just a few days, No Man's Sky will make its way to the Xbox One with a new update called Next, which finally brings multiplayer and a whole lot more to the game. But unfortunately, like I said, the hype for this game died in 2016 at launch, and Sean Murray's reputation went down the toilet as many felt burned by No Man's Sky. With Hello Games going dark after launch, many called for investigations into the misleading marketing and promises that Sean Murray made. And really, because of Hello Games' silence for a good number of months, people were pissed and attacking the company for not delivering. To this day, No Man's Sky is best remembered for why procedural generation is not a good thing, as it doesn't always equal quality content, as well as why you should not pre-order a game, and why managing hype is very important. Again, 2 years later, most of the day one players have moved on and don't care to give this game a second chance. But finally, here in 2018, Sean Murray has opened up about the Disastrous launch and the response they received from fans. Speaking to The Guardian, Murray would say, "The internet is really good at knowing when somebody has made a mistake. It's not necessarily the best at determining the most appropriate response, but it's really good at knowing when somebody has messed something up. We definitely messed up a whole bunch of communication. I've never liked talking to the press. I didn't enjoy it when I had to do it, and when I did it, I was naive and overly excited about my game. There are a lot of things around launch that I regret or that I would do differently, and honestly the communication was the biggest issue, but overhyping and representing the game how it was not was also one of the big criticisms sent Hello Games' way. There are multiple compilations of Murray revealing things that were not in the game at launch, which you could call them lies.
The only way for you to know what you look like is for somebody else to see you.
Can you run into other people, other players on the game?
Yes, but the chances of that are incredibly rare, just because of the size of what we're building.
Wow.
Can you land on a comet?
Yeah, at the moment you can land on asteroids.
Can you customize the look of your character?
Sort of.
Do you ever get a good look at your character?
You can see other characters, and they can see you.
Will you be able to play with your friends?
Yeah.
Will there be DLC?
No.
Now, Murray next hits on some of the vicious and nasty things people did. We didn't talk about it, but it was as bad as things can get. Basically, there's a smorgasbord of things that the angry mob can do. It is a crowdsourced thing of how bad you can make someone's life. I remember getting a death threat about the fact that there were butterflies in our original trailer and you could see them as you walked past them, but there weren't any butterflies in the launch game. I remember thinking to myself, maybe when you're sending a death threat about butterflies in a game, you might be the bad guy. Unfortunately, this is what happens far too often. Some people just being complete a-holes, which typically overshadows valid criticism that the majority are giving. No matter what, Sean Murray and his team does not deserve threats against their lives. Murray would continue discussing next their decision to stick with the game post-release. We did something that I think I've always done. When I look back at my life, when I've dealt with shitty situations when I was a kid moving between lots of schools, or when I've had shitty bosses later in life, I basically just get my head down and I work and I avoid. I just focus on making games, making cool creative things, and that's an outlet for me. I think the team just wanted to do that. Later in this interview, Murray would state, No Man's Sky was what we wanted it to be when it launched. I'll dive into that a little bit later. But he continues, we always talked about the feeling of landing on a planet that no one had been on before. It was lonely. It had nice, calm, ambient moments in it, but we always wanted to expand it. If you played the original game for 20 hours, you probably got that experience that we wanted, but you probably would have never picked up No Man's Sky again. See, this is one of the many issues that people have had. From the marketing and him talking about the game, I don't think that vision was portrayed well enough, especially when gameplay is presented showing these lush, beautiful worlds with different things going on around you, and barely any of that could be found at launch. But Murray would close out this interview discussing the problems they faced leading up to launch, the pressure they received by delaying the game a few months, and how the original 2016 release helped make the game better, saying, in the lead up to launch, oh my god, I would have chopped off my own arm to have more time. We were under enormous pressure from the community and external forces. We were out of money. We were working so hard, way too hard. We've gotten much better balance in our lives now, but if we had not released No Man's Sky when we had, and I was sat down talking to you now after we delayed it for 2 years, we would not have a game as good as it is right now. Now and then you'll see a comment thread where somebody will say it's my favorite game of all time. That's fantastic. I never expected to work on something that would have people saying that about it. So, No Man's Sky has sold somewhere around 3 to 4 million copies, maybe even more at this point, and has been a massive financial success. But if the game had been properly portrayed in trailers, gameplay, and the various interviews, those sales are much different. It at least sounds like to me that they needed No Man's Sky to be a big hit, and with the millions they made off the original hype, this has helped make the game better today because they financially can support the game with free updates. Hell, some big studios like Bethesda couldn't reach sales numbers like that with critically acclaimed games like Wolfenstein 2 and Prey. That just shows how excited people were for No Man's Sky. But no matter what Hello Games does after this, people will not forget the debacle. Personally, I do think this game is much better today, and I'm glad there is a community that loves it. But I'm one of the people that felt burned at launch, and I still just cannot get into this experience. Many of the problems I have with the game is to do with procedural generation and the repetitiveness. What bothers me right now is that Murray makes it seem like it was just hype that ruined this game, when it was really blatant lies, and it sounds like they may have done this to maximize profits at launch, making people believe this game was much better than what it really was. Obviously, they've improved it significantly since, but it's still hard to say this is a good game. And like he says, the only reason why they've been able to improve the game is because of the mass interest that came before launch, which led to huge sales from misleading information and footage. If players had seen the game how it really was, it's hard to say No Man's Sky is successful at all. Also, review copies being sent out last minute and the embargo being hours before launch was a smart but anti-consumer business decision that Hello Games made. Like I've said throughout this video, it was all about profiting off the misleading hype. But Sean Murray saying they were out of money is very interesting and makes me question if everything was done on purpose. Release an unfinished game, make big money from original misleading hype, ignore backlash and use big profits to support and improve the game, hopefully winning back many gamers' trust. I don't know, his comments just don't sit right with me. If the game was really meant to be how it was day one, it it wasn't portrayed like that, and it was never discussed that way. But that's just my opinion. But what do you make of Sean Murray's comments in No Man's Sky? Do you like it? Do you play it? Do you hate it? As I've been working on this video, I'm just reading the comment section on some of these old No Man's Sky trailers and gameplay, and it's quite crazy the expectations that people had. As you can see on the screen, comments like, "This game has the potential to be absolutely brilliant. The dev seems to be very down to earth as well, pun half intended, and as well as, this game is everything I dreamed of as a kid while playing the Star Wars Battlefront series," you know, before EA ruined that, "and this game might change gaming forever. Also forget real life and NASA, just play this." Reading these comments just really reminds, at least me, what could have, should have been, but I really do wonder if we'll see a game with so much excitement and anticipation like No Man's Sky had, and see it actually deliver. Maybe one day, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and consider subscribing for more content like this, and I'll see you later.